The iPad Magic Keyboard has been in the market for some 6 months at this point. However, the availability of this product in many regions has been sketchy. In fact, in India, only since the opening of the online Apple Store has there been consistent availability for this product. My name is Ashish, and this is an important review because of two reasons. One, this keyboard brings the much needed trackpad functionality to the iPad Pro. And second, it is extremely expensive, so much so that it costs more than a basic iPad itself. So, for users of the Smart Keyboard Folio or even people without a keyboard, this is an important question. Away from the marketing hype, is it worth spending a small fortune on this keyboard? So we're looking at the Magic Keyboard for the 12.9-inch iPad here, but this will apply equally to the 11-inch version as well as the iPad Air. Well, let's get one thing out of the way first. The iPad Pro still cannot fully replace a laptop. For me, during my course of work, the biggest stumbling block has been the lack of ability to run Chrome web browser extensions. Sure, there are workarounds for this, and if you're interested, I can make a separate video demonstrating this. Do let me know in the comments below. But there are just too many things at this stage that require complicated workarounds if you're into content creation of some sort and are planning to use the iPad or the iPad Air or Pro as your only computer. I truly believe that it complements a Mac or a PC very well. For tasks that it excels at, there is little to compare it with and nothing that comes close to the iPad. Now, what does the Magic Keyboard for the iPad bring to the table that the half-price Smart Keyboard Folio does not? Well, for starters, the scissor mechanism keys are excellent and typing is truly a joy on them. I personally also like the experience of typing on the Smart Keyboard Folio, but the relativity of using the Magic Keyboard and then going back to the Smart Keyboard Folio will make things clear for you. The feedback, the springiness, the response, the backlighting feature, they all go a long way in making this a much more pleasant typing experience. So for the sake of this review and for a hands-on comparison, I switched between 4 types of keyboards for scripting this video. The Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro and the Smart Keyboard Folio, and then the butterfly mechanism keyboard on my 2018 MacBook Pro. And finally, a mechanical keyboard, the TVS Gold keyboard that is based on Cherry MX keys and is a lovely experience to type on. The results have been unsurprising. The mechanical keyboard takes the cake for the most part. It offers the most tactile experience of the lot, and if you have ever spent time with mechanical keyboards, you will know that they offer the best experience for long typing sojourns. However, they are not portable, at least in this form, and also not attached to a laptop or tablet. A close second, thus, is the Magic Keyboard for the iPad. It's also a joy to type on, and because of the crystal clear iPad display that also optimizes the Page's word editor to display large, crisp, and legible text, for me this was the most immersive way to work with text. You also get the small but excellent trackpad built into this keyboard that helps with text selection and correcting any typos in general. The MacBook Pro's butterfly keyboard comes in third. It doesn't offer the same travel as the Magic Keyboard on the iPad, and although it's not a bad keyboard as such, it feels less pleasant to type on once you're used to typing on the scissor style keys. So the revert back to the scissor style mechanism on the MacBook Pro 16-inch is certainly a step in the right direction. But to bring perspective to this review, it was simply superb having this style of keyboard around, considering the fact that so many users still have MacBooks from this era and might well be considering getting the iPad Magic Keyboard. Last spot is for the Smart Keyboard Folio. Once you come back to this, you will immediately miss the trackpad, and when you type on it, your fingers feel the strain because compared to the others, it is hard and unyielding. It's funny how the introduction of a new technology or product can make an older item seem so outdated, and in isolation, this is still a good compact keyboard for the iPad, but when you compare it to the other experiences on offer, it falls short on its core competency. So it was important for me to talk about the core functionality of the Magic Keyboard first, the typing experience. Now that we know that it offers one of the best typing experiences, let's look at the other features. The most important one is the inclusion of the trackpad. Make no mistake, although it's a lot smaller than a MacBook's keyboard, it is just as good to operate. And the way the cursor changes shape and magnetically attaches to whatever you are about to click on also grows on you and feels intuitive. Perhaps the one thing that will take time to get used to is the secondary click. I've got it set up as a two-finger click, and this can sometimes be tricky to do. Of course, you could long click like a long press and achieve the same result if all else fails. Design-wise, the two keyboards for the iPad are quite similar, with similar use of materials in grey. Also, it's great that it also works with the 2018 iPad Pros and not just the current 2020 models. But since it is compatible with the 2020 models, the camera cutout on the back is for that size and will leave a bigger space around the camera on the 2018 models. Certainly not a problem, but not necessarily the best for aesthetics. The Magic Keyboard is a lot heavier at 706 grams versus 408 for the Smart Keyboard Folio. This deterred me initially, but since I've been using it extensively, it appears that this is a non-issue. Sure, the whole thing may be heavier than the MacBook Air or even the smaller MacBook Pro, but the extra heft has a function. When deployed, the Smart Keyboard Folio should never be picked up by the keyboard part because it is too slim and delicate, and it's difficult for it to support half its own weight and that of the iPad as well. No such problems with the Magic Keyboard. The keyboard part feels reinforced and heavy and can not only support the weight of the iPad, but also when you're changing the viewing angles of the iPad, it gives it the required weight by not tipping over easily. All in all, weight is not a concern for me, and it feels almost as comfortable as carrying around the iPad with the Smart Keyboard Folio. So you can safely disregard any concerns you had about its weight. In terms of protection offered, it offers the same on the edges as the Smart Keyboard Folio. Being a lot stronger though, it will offer better protection against inadvertent bending of these fragile tablets when in a backpack. Something to ponder upon. The Magic Keyboard also offers an extra port for charging. This is easily one of my favorite features. This is almost like a wireless charging pad for the iPad. You can detach it when you want to use it as a tablet and simply click it back in place when done to recharge. So you can leave it on a desk or a bedside table and comfortably use it as a tablet in this form. The actual charging is slower than charging directly via the iPad's USB-C port, but in practice you will seldom get to know this. The backlighting on the keyboard is something you will come to appreciate only once you start using it. Not only in the dark, but in all conditions it makes for a more legible and easier typing experience. A lot of reviewers had complained about the lack of brightness adjustment buttons on the Magic Keyboard. But whilst this would have been a nice addition, in my experience the auto brightness does a brilliant job of maintaining the correct levels of luminance across the board. In fact, when I think about it, I can't remember the last time I used the keyboard brightness buttons on my Mac's touch bar. The screen brightness, yes, certainly, but never the keyboard brightness controls. The battery drain from this feature is negligible in daily use, and your iPad will still last you a day as it normally has. And this is at a stage when my iPad's battery health after nearly 2 years is only at 85%. Another point that has been mentioned in some reviews is the times when your fingers can hit the bottom of the iPad when using the row of number keys. Whilst this is certainly true, I found that I had to put the iPad at an extreme angle on the Magic Keyboard for this to be a distraction. It wasn't an angle I would use when typing or using the keyboard in general, and in any case I reach up for the numbers row a lot lesser when typing Word documents, so I had to create a scenario where I would intentionally want to bump my fingers against the bottom of the iPad to count this as a problem. So I've had mostly positive things to say about the iPad Pro Magic Keyboard, and that's because I've saved the biggest negative for last, and that is the price. It is so ridiculously priced that even with all its strengths, it can only be recommended to a specific set of people. If you do a lot of typing on the iPad, or if you want to use it as a primary computer, then price aside, this is easily the most elegant and native solution you will find. If money isn't an object, or you can spread the cost of this purchase without too much of an impact on your finances, then go right ahead and buy it. Once you have it, you will never regret it and find it almost impossible to go back to a lesser keyboard. However, that leaves the rest of us, those who type only occasionally, those that are looking for a case and stand for protection and for media consumption combined with the functionality of a keyboard. For them, anything more than the Smart Keyboard Folio will be a luxury. If you're willing to have a less portable solution, then attaching a Bluetooth or wired keyboard for the occasional long typing session may be a much cheaper and equally effective solution. The Magic Keyboard is a bit like the iPad itself. You don't need it, but you desire it. And just like having an Apple Pencil opens up a part of the functionality of the iPad, so does the Magic Keyboard. Having a built in trackpad and scissor style keyboard with your iPad is indeed a transformative experience. So there you have it, an excellent product, priced perhaps double of what it should be, and thus limiting its appeal. What do you think? Are you planning on getting a keyboard for your iPad? If so, which one will you be choosing? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, let me know if there is anything iPad specific you would like to see in a future video. Thanks for sticking around and be sure to subscribe for future updates. See you in my next one.